Hello guys, and welcome to my top 50 albums of 2023. I've been really excited to share this list. I've been working on it for the majority of 2023, and I really wanted to also make this list back in 2022, but never really sat down and took my time to do it. So yeah, here's a quick and snappy 50 spots of my favorite albums that were released this year. However, right before jumping in to my 50 favorite albums, I quickly wanted to show my honorable mentions. They will be right over here. These are the albums that didn't quite make the list, but I still really enjoyed throughout the year and wanted to include. So yeah, quick shout out to these records. They're all really enjoyable. So yeah. Okay, well, let's just get rolling because there's a lot of albums to go through. Number 50 spot, I got Food for Worms by Shame. Food for Worms is a art punk album that released back in February, but I never really got my hands around to this project before the end of this year, so I think I first heard it in November. But songs like Adderall and Different Person are definitely some songs I will be returning to in the near future as well. At 49, I got Home Is Where by The Wailer. This is also a punky album, but it takes more inspiration from the Midwest emo scene. And I enjoyed this a little bit more than Shame, but also kind of got around to it here in the last autumn-winter section of the year. I found this album to be quite unique because of its concept. It kind of plays out a story of 9/11 repeating itself over and over again, and kind of shows it from different views on, that day. So it's quite an interestingly written record, but also has some amazing instrumental work on it. At 48, I got Glorious Game by Michel's Affair and Black Thought. I don't even know who the first guy is. I'm pretty sure he's the producer of the record, but they teamed up for this awesome jazz rap album, and I'm guessing the person I don't know is the one who had all the jazz influence. I'm a huge fan of Black Thought's rapping career. Last year he released an album called Cheat Codes, which was in my top 10 of that year. This one doesn't quite live up to the hype of Cheat Codes, but this one is just incredible, and it's just 30 minutes long, but there's still a lot to dig into. 47, we got one of the larger drops of the year. It is Lil Yachty's Let's Start Here. When this dropped, I was just taken by surprise because I was not really a huge fan of Lil Yachty. I liked his experimental rap trap stuff, but this comes out and it's basically a fusion between Pink Floyd and Tame Impala inspirations, and it's in like a neo-psychedelia kind of universe, and it's quite interesting what he was able to create, being a genre, since it's a genre he isn't famous for. But I really enjoyed this and listened to it throughout the entire year and just couldn't get enough. Number 46 goes to Oh Monolith by Squid. Squid released their sophomore record, Oh Monolith, which is also like an experimental rock record. I really enjoyed their debut, which I think is a little bit better than this, but I still really enjoyed the kind of electronic experimentations that Squid once in a while takes, and it's just a unique group. I saw them live as well this year, and that was really fun. At number 45, I've got Magdalena Bass Mini Mix Volume 3. This is actually a mixtape, but I will also be including mixtapes and EPs on this list. I just forgot to mention that in the beginning. But this is a mixtape which I really enjoyed. It's a electropop, synth pop project that is just so much fun. I couldn't get enough of it this year. It's only 15 minutes long, so if you have the time, I definitely recommend it. At 44, I got Travis Scott's Utopia. This was definitely the largest and most anticipated release of this year, definitely in the rap scene. This is just such a fun project as well. I wasn't sold really the first time I heard it. I thought it was kind of weak in comparison to Astroworld and Rodeo, but I still kind of think that, but it's definitely an enjoyable listen. There's so many small songs I can take out from this entire project, and I enjoy a lot of moments, although there are some moments I find pretty weak. But Travis Scott just kind of has this unique way of being able to create a feature list that is so enjoyable, whether if it's a Playboi Carti feature or a Beyonce feature or a James Blake feature, they all just work insanely well in his psychedelic experimental universe. At 43, we got the famous singer-songwriter Lana Del Rey with her album Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard? I really enjoyed this album, and it's definitely her best work since Norman fucking Rockwell. I wanted to enjoy it more than I did, but yeah, there's so many great moments still, so I could not resist putting this on the list. At 42, I got a contemporary folk record by Susanne Sundfør. Susanne Sundfør is a Norwegian writer, which I personally have loved for a long time, and with this record, Blew Me, I was just, yeah, warmed up. It feels like sitting at a fireplace and having a lullaby sung to you. So beautiful. At number 41, we got the K-pop group New Jeans with their EP, the first EP on the list. And I think this is the first K-pop project I've ever enjoyed. I just so much fun. I was kind of introduced to this because I knew that the Danish artist Erika Dicachet had some writing influences on this project, so I just had to get down into it. But when I heard it, I was just infected. I mean, a song like Super Shy, come on. How can you not like that shit? That should be bumping. At the number 40 spot, I got a Danish album. There were some Danish albums in my honorable mention, but this is the first one on this list, with Artie's Længe Leve, which means long live. I mean, if you're interested in foreign rap, I'd say definitely check this out. It's his best album, in my opinion, to date, most personal, and has the best instrumentals. The instrumental work on this is quite impressive, so shout out to everyone who helped him in the making of that. But yeah, there's some hits on this, but there's also some songs that kind of made me impressed by Artie's work as a writer, which I wasn't really impressed until this released. 39, I got Andre 3000's New Blue Sun, and yeah, I mean, call me a dick writer or whatever. I love Outkast, so when Andre dropped his debut album here, of course I'm gonna meat write all over it. But yeah, this album is just so funny to me because it is an ambient project, a little flute project. But although my bias is to Andre 3000, I found this to be just a awesome flute album. So yeah, if you're into ambient music, I definitely also recommend this. Number 38, I got Heavy Heavy by Young Fathers. This is a neo-psychedelia project, which has a lot of gospel influences in it. One of my favorite songs of the year, I Saw, is on this project. So yeah, if you're not going to check this album out, check out I Saw, because that is definitely one of my favorite tracks from this year. Great album. At 37, I got Turquoise Death's Se Bueno, which is a shoegaze album that is made by a Album of the Year user, so I was kind of locked into this project because everybody on Album of the Year was going crazy about this thing. Yeah, really dreamy, atmospheric drum and bass album with, yeah, a lot of grand shoegaze tracks. At 36, I got Danny Brown's Coranta. This is his album released for being 40 years old, so it's kind of a birthday present from him to us in a way. He did the same thing when he turned 30 with Triple X. This is just, yeah, great album. I definitely recommend, if you were to check out any of these tracks, to check out the entire thing, since Danny Brown gets quite personal in some tracks, and it took me a while to kind of warm up to the way that Danny Brown is presenting these tracks, since it's not the usual Danny Brown. At number 35, I got Model Actress's Dog's Body. This is a noise rock dance punk album that is so underrated. This is a debut album from the band, so yeah, I'm just excited to see what this band brings on in the near future, because holy shit, this rocks. At 34, I got another debut album by an experimental rock band, The Lamb is Effigy by Sprain. Fucking grand project, 1.5 hour long of just, yeah, intense build-ups and scary ass vocal and instrumentals. At 33, I got Kaiso Slumber's How Are We Feeling Today. This is a digital hardcore album, and although the tracks are only 1 minute long, this is definitely the most hard-hitting shit of the year. At number 32, I got a disco album by Jessie Ware. That feels good, and there's only one way to kind of explain why this album feels good. It's just fucking awesome and just makes you want to dance. It really just, yeah, lays in the title. This album feels good. 31, I got McKinley Dixon's Beloved Paradise Jazz. This is a jazz rap album, and it has some really beautiful moments, probably the most beautiful moments I've heard the entire year in the jazz scene. Yeah, definitely contender of one of the best rap albums of this year for sure. At number 30, I got Rat Saw God by Wednesday. This is an indie rock record that released in the beginning of the year that I just have been enjoying really much. I kind of, for a while, saw indie rock as a genre that was bland. I was a huge fan of it, and I feel like the creativity in the genre died down, but Wednesday makes me believe that there's hope in the future. At the 29th spot, I got legendary electronic producer and singer-songwriter James Blake with Playing Robots into Heaven. Great to see him kind of return to his roots with this, but also kind of take the UK-based genre forward. If I didn't listen enough to this album the recent months it's been out, my dad definitely has, since he spun this vinyl over 100 times at least, so I'm just living constantly in this album at home. At the 28th spot, I got Super Snooper by the garage punk band Snooper. This is a small 20-minute album that I definitely just listened way too much to this year. I don't know, I was just kind of infected by this entire project. They remind me a lot of the Japanese punk band Otoboke Beaver, but kind of if they just took a chill pill and sat down and just jammed it out, and also were American. At number 27, I got Always in a Hurry by Medicine. Medicine kind of blew up years back on SoundCloud with his new jazz electronic music, and I never really grabbed my attention before I heard the first track of this, and just could not stop listening to it because it just flows perfectly. This album just really takes you in and creates a whole universe, and it's really just a staple for what I love with soundscape creation. At 26, I got legendary MC Billy Woods, who teams up with Kenny Siegel on the production side to create probably the best abstract hip-hop release of the year. Yeah, Billy Woods never fails to amaze me. He's definitely one of the most unique MCs and most prominent MCs of our time. Yeah, just another album that seals the deal that he's fucking awesome. Now, at the 25th spot, I kind of didn't really want to include this because of the recent controversies, but I decided to anyways, since, yeah, let's separate the art from the artist. Isn't that the big thing nowadays? Well, I got Slow Tie with Ugly. This is his third album, and yeah, definitely, I think, his most consistent record. I did enjoy a lot his debut, and his sophomore release was also great as well. I think I prefer that a little over this, but this definitely has a lot more of a consistent concept dealing into the psyche of Slow Tie and all his addiction problems, whether it is sex or drugs that kind of rattles him. I like the punk influence that this album has. It kind of blends experimental hip-hop and punk and just rock as well. And it just works well. It's definitely a great way for Slow Tie to go, so I hope that the recent controversies are just kind of, fuck him if what he's going to try for is true. At the 24th spot, I got a live record. This is Live at Bush Hall by Black Country New Road. Black Country New Road is one of my favorite groups of the 2020s. They're an experimental rock, post-punk, art rock group that I've really connected with a lot. I love their first two albums, For the First Time and Ants From Up There. However, after the release of Ants From Up There, I was shocked and so fucking sad because the lead singer Isaac Wood announced a departure from the group, so he will no longer be the face of Black Country New Road, and he's kind of one of the reasons I enjoyed a lot of the group's work in the first place. I really connected with him as a writer, and his vocal performance is just so authentic. There's nothing like Isaac Wood, and there only comes an artist like that once every decade. So I was really skeptical listening to their music without Isaac Wood, but with this release, they just proved themselves that they're able to continue on and take their sound in a even newer and more experimental direction. The song Turbines Pigs on this project is by far my absolute favorite song of this year. So that is just a beautiful composed song. There's nothing more to say. I definitely recommend checking that song out because it makes me shed a tear a lot of the times I listen to it. Earth Eater takes the 23rd spot with Powders. Earth Eater is an art pop artist that I've really not sunk my teeth quite enough into, but a project like this really just shows that I definitely have to check out her previous albums as well. I've heard one other album by her, or a mixtape, Trinity, which also I found to be astonishing. But yeah, this is really just an art pop project that showcases Earth Eater as a prominent singer. She's an amazing vocalist and also quite a great writer. The production on this album is awesome. It has so many electronic points that just kind of blows over your head. Taken for instance the first song Sugarcane Switch and a song like Heels Overhead. The production, from a production standpoint, those songs are just fucking insane. But I also really enjoyed a song like Crushing on this, which has more of a low-key and trip-hop influence. And on this album she also kind of heads more in a folky direction, with a song like Face in the Moon, where she's just showcases her beautiful vocals and great writing as well. This kind of just shows more the base foundations of why Earth Eater is great, but for a future project I would definitely want there to be a lot more craziness. But yeah, I love a lot of the tracks on this. At the 22nd spot, I got This Is Why by Paramore. This is a pop punk album that released back in February, and I remember hearing it in the beginning of the year, and I did like it a lot. But it took me quite some time for it to grow on me, which is why I think it was great it came out in the beginning of the year, because if it came out in November or something, I definitely wouldn't have included it on this list. I found this album to be quite a slow burn for me, but this is a 10-song project going in just about 36 minutes, and it has just a lot of unique, well-written and awesome tracks. Paramore is a band that I find to be quite unique. There's no one quite like them, and usually in the pop punk scene there can be a lot of bland music, so Paramore definitely puts a little kick in that. At the 23rd spot, I got Panchico with Failed at Maths. This is actually their debut album. However, the band spans back 20 years. They recently reunited after gaining a lot of popularity in this on social media. This is an indie-tronica trip-hop album that just kind of shows that even after 20 years they're still able to do it. At the 20th spot, I got Liturgy with 93696. Liturgy is the artist name for Hey Ella Hunt Hendrix, who is a black metal artist who made this entire album by themselves, which I found to be insanely impressive. Not only does she do the vocals, but also all the instrumentals. So I'm quite impressed by this. I'm not a huge fan of black metal in general, but there's something about the way that this album is made. I'm kind of interested to dive more into this genre, since I'm not that familiar with it, but I think this is a great starting point for me. Really positive so far. Although that metal is known for its intense moments, 93696 also has moments that are beautifully composed with piano sections and a lot of kind of ambient chamber music in there, which creates this really nice contrast between insane shit happening, insane build-ups, and screamy performances with some moments of kind of, yeah, angelic perfection. Such a unique record, and I'm happy I checked it out. At the 19th spot, however, I got a band I am quite familiar with. This is Swans with The Beggar. This is a 2-hour album of experimental rock, and it is just nuts as well. However, this album did take me by surprise because that I did not expect it to be as beautiful as it was. Michael Giera, the lead singer of Swans, is at the age of late 60s now and has been making music for multiple decades under his own name and the Swans band name. But it feels like this is kind of his, I would not say magnum opus, but it is kind of his most important album to him personally. At least that's how I see it. He kind of comes to terms with the fact that he's gonna die. He comes to terms with his own mortality. And instead of portraying it in a way of, yeah, fuck, I'm gonna die someday, he kind of accepts it and comes to kind of finds peace at the end of the album, which is quite nice. I do like this album a lot because it kind of showcases a lot what Swans has been doing for the last 20 years and kind of mashes it into one big thing. Mi champa di gatto que eu sou sua. Please correct me in the comments or whatever. But that is the album that takes the 18th spot by Ana Franca Electrico. I was not familiar with this artist at all before I listened to this, but I definitely want to be familiar now. This is a funk album that is just so much fun. I actually first heard it like 2 weeks ago, so it just snuck up pretty high on this list when I was going through my, at the end of the year I kind of went through a speed run of a lot of projects I wanted to check out but didn't throughout the year, and this was one of them that stood out a lot to me. Just so much fun. I could dance to this all night long. At 17, I got Death Dynamic Shroud's After Angel. This is a vaporwave electronic project, and Death Dynamic Shroud puts out like 50 albums a year. I'm just so impressed every time. They sample all these crazy different things and put them into one crazy atmospheric experience, and every time I am blown away. After Angel here is actually a leftover album, kind of has leftover tracks from their release in 2022, I believe was called Dark Life. If you like electronic music, I definitely recommend just anything by Death's Dynamic Shroud, but this one definitely stood out of their many projects this year. At 16, I got Census Designated by Jane Remover. Jane Remover is a producer and multi-instrumentalist, and she is only 20 years old, but when she came up a couple of years ago, she was in her teens, so I'm quite impressed. I've been quite impressed by how young this artist has been and how she has been able to put out so much material and so much different material. Jane Remover actually has multiple alter egos, or not alter egos, but artist names she goes under. Leroy being one of them, or Concern, where she makes these DJ mashups called Daria Core, which I am a huge sucker for. Samples some of the most crazy shit ever. While Jane Remover here has been a prominent figure in the hyperpop scene the latest couple of years, and I love the album Frailty. Definitely one of the most unique hyperpop albums that kind of blend indie rock into the mix as well. And on Census Designated, everything we knew about Jane Remover kind of gets taken away, because this is not a hyperpop album at all. This is a shoegaze album, though it is still really much her in the core. She is just such an outstanding artist. I'm just shocked that people at this age, at my age, are able to compose and create so creative art, and I'm just sitting here in my room talking about them. Yeah. 15, we got my highest rated EP of the year. This is also by a new band coming up from the UK scene. This is Maruja with Knockaneria. Yeah, this is an art rock, experimental rock, punk album. Has come out of the post punk scene that kind of has been in the recent years in England, but they are not kind of a band I would compare to the likes of Black Midi, Squid, or Black Country New Road. I see themselves kind of their own corner, and I'm excited to see what they're able to do in the future. This EP might have been just a one-hit wonder, but I'm quite sure that I will go on to enjoy a lot of Maruja projects in the future if they create more. There's only 4 tracks on this thing, and it ranges into about 20 minutes, but every single song on here is just insane. Huge shout out to this band. Thunder is a great song, such a wild opening track, but yeah, not for the faint-hearted again. At the 14th spot, we toned down the craziness a little bit with the beautiful angelic LaHaye from Sampha. This is an alternative R&B record with neo-soul influences that also have some electronic bits in it as well. But yeah, what is there to say about Sampha? I mean, he delivers every time he creates a project. He delivers every time he's a feature. Usually he's a feature on rappers' songs like Kendrick Lamar on Mr. Morale and Kanye on The Life of Pablo. And every time he just touches something, it just becomes a masterpiece. His voice is incredible. And yeah, there's nothing to say about Sampha. It's fucking Sampha. Yeah, I couldn't make a list without putting this in the top end at least. At the 13th spot, I got Midair by Paris, Texas. This is an experimental hip-hop release that is just so much fun. I heard this back in summer, and I have had a lot of these tracks on repeat. There's been a lot of critique on this album, saying that they take from their influences too much, like the likes of Injury Reserve, Brockhampton, Slow Tie, Death Grips. But I think that those influences are really worked into their own, and the rappers in Paris, Texas kind of have their own personality. They're witty, they're fun, they're quick, and they're not really trying to be much else. So many great tracks on here. If it's the opening track 1037 that gets played, or a song like Bullet Man, I am definitely listening all the way through. Those are just some fun experimental rap songs, but there's also some emotional tracks on here like Ain't No High and Everybody's Safe Until. I just like this. I just like this album a lot, although there's not really a huge concept, and I do see that it is quite rough around the edges. I definitely think that this is one of the albums I've had the most fun with this year. At 12, I got the crazy atmospheric dream pop neo psychedelia album by George Clanton, Ooh Rap Aya. And although in the title it says Ooh Rap Aya, I thought I was gonna go into a rap album. That is definitely not what this is. This is a beautiful produced album. Definitely, I think I would say is probably the best atmospheres we have on a record at all this year. And when I first heard this, I was just blessed. I felt blessed. My ears were pleased. They were having eargasms, and they still are. And I feel like this album dropped like so long ago, but still every time I get into it, it feels like a totally new experience. And I definitely have not heard enough George Clanton. I know he has released prior projects. I've not gone into them, but I definitely will be. Awesome release. Just so beautiful. At the 11th spot, I got Archie Marshall, also known as King Cruel, with his album Space Heavy. This is a slowcore art rock album by the artist King Cruel, who I enjoy a lot of music from. So when this album released, I was for sure expected to be a sucker for it. However, that was not the case. This album was more of a slow burner for me. I only took out a few tracks in the beginning that I enjoyed a lot, like Sea Girl and Seaforth. But I ended up returning a lot, and the smaller moments in this album started to stand out a lot more to me. Rather, if it's the song Hamburger Phobia or When Vanishing or If Only It Was Warmth, those songs are just heavy hitters, man. They're space heavy hitters. Yeah. This is just a consistent, sad, and mesmerizing and profound release that I definitely recommend. I recommend a lot of King Cruel's work. So, yeah. Now we've reached the 10 final spots. I've listened to way too many records this year, so these are what are the Jens Cederdorf specials. My absolute favorite music that was made this year. So starting off at number 10, we got Snow Strippers with their mixtape April Mixtape Free. I love Snow Strippers so much, and I actually only heard 2 Snow Strippers projects, because I kind of try to listen to a lot of everything here and there, so I haven't really had time to listen to everything by Snow Strippers, but I am a huge sucker for everything. My ears are so pleased with this. It is so satisfying to me. I get stimulated perfectly. If I'm not listening to Snow Strippers, my brain is somewhere else, probably thinking about Snow Strippers. Awesome. They're so awesome. They make this electroclash music, DJ kind of music, and they get compared a lot to a group like Crystal Castles. However, I do think Snow Strippers are a lot more consistent and precise, and a lot more relevant, and probably a group like Snow Strippers I feel like works a lot better now than they did for a group than the sound that Crystal Castles was trying to create worked 10 years ago. But yeah, Snow Strippers, fucking awesome. At the number 9 spot, I got Eve's Tumor with a name of an album that is way too long, but here we go. Praise the Lord who chews, but which does not consume, or simply hot between worlds. Eve's Tumor, they are an awesome ass artist that I enjoy a lot. Saw them earlier in concert this year, and that was an even better experience than this album. Definitely Eve's Tumor's best project, in my opinion, and is such a unique and disgusting universe. It is a beautiful record. It is a neo psychedelia rock record, art rock record, with a lot of beautiful moments on it. But there's something about this album's core that makes it feel sweaty and dirty, with a song like God Is a Circle or In Spite of War. And yeah, but although it kind of has this kind of, I would even say grunge influence, there's still a lot of beautiful tracks on here where he teams up with some talented ass instrumentalists and vocalists on a song like Lovely Sewer and Echolalia. Those are definitely the bops, the most streamed of this, which I enjoy a lot. And the finishing track, Ebony Eye, is also one of my favorite tracks released this year for sure. At the number 8 spot, I got 100 Gex with 10,000 Gex. 100 Gex does not really need an introduction, but they are a hyperpop band, and probably the most important hyperpop band that has been. They shaped the genre, created popularity for the genre. But with the release here, 10,000 Gex, I was absolutely sold when they started to introduce influences from ska punk and shit like that. And this track list of 10,000 Gex has got to be the most unique, the most creative, and the most insane as well. We got hyperpop tracks here like Dumbest Girl Alive, Hollywood Baby, but there are ska punk songs on here like Frog on the Floor and I Got My Tooth Removed that when I initially heard them first, I just found them to be silly, but eventually they were stuck in my head and I kind of saw the vision behind the songs and didn't really put that much effort in trying to overanalyze 100 gags, because 100 gags are just being silly and goofy, but they are doing it in a intelligent ass way because they know how to get me hooked onto it. I enjoy so much about this, and yeah, I haven't even mentioned one of my favorite tracks on here, Billy Knows Jamie, which is a fucking intense song. It sounds like what does it sound like? It sounds like a Limp Bizkit song, but just on steroids, and it's even done better than Limp Bizkit themselves are able to do. 10,000 Gex is extreme and so fucking hilarious. I love this so much. At the number 7 spot, I got Javelin, an indie folk album by Sufjan Stevens. Sufjan Stevens releases a ton of music all the time, and every time it's great. However, I do find that Javelin is probably in the top 2, maybe top 1 eventually, of my favorite Sufjan Stevens projects. This is just a magical and magnificent album that is, yeah, uplifting, but it is quite sad album, but it is really uplifting. And when it came out back in October, it kind of worked well with the Christmas kind of spirit that started to slowly flow in during November when I heard this a lot. Sufjan Stevens, great songwriter, can never get enough of him, and this is probably one of my favorite works from him. So at the number 6 spot, I got the art pop, glitchy, indie-tronica album Soft Scars by Yule. This is Yule's third album, and in my opinion, it is by far the best that they have released. I was a huge fan of Glitch Princess, however, I didn't really, I wasn't really sold completely on the concept of the record, whereas I feel Soft Scars tackles this portrayal of our digital dystopia that we currently live in. Going through this track list, I can't even pick a favorite. I mean, it is such a great project. Awesome listen, Yule is a character for themselves, and I definitely recommend anything by Yule, but this is by far the best I've heard. And I have seen this project on so many year-end lists, and that is what I expected straight away when I heard it. So, yeah. Thank you for this, Yule. At the number 5 spot, I got Girl with Fish by Feeble Little Horse. Feeble Little Horse is a band I did not know of at all until a couple months ago, and I am a huge stan of this group now. They make this indie pop, shoegaze pop music, and use a lot of noise in their songs. They offer actually not so much. The songs are quite short, and there's not that much detail or description in the lyrical content. However, I do think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy the project a lot, or Feeble Little Horse in general a lot. It's just right up my alley, and it is just straight and in your face. I don't have to sit and spend multiple listens trying to analyze this, or trying to get an understanding of what is going on in the lyrics or what the music is trying to do, because I'm just enjoying it. There's 11 tracks on this thing, and my favorite probably gotta be Freak, Tin Man, Steamroller, Sweet, and Pocket. Pocket is definitely the most out-of-pocket song on this. The vocalist ends up screaming at me in a quite unique way, which I did not expect. That at that moment I heard that, it was probably the scariest moment of the year for me, music-wise at least. But a song like Steamroller on this is also one of my top songs, and yeah, I'm just happy I found this, because if I didn't, I would be nagging myself over it forever. Now at the number 4 spot, I have an album that when I first heard it, I knew that everybody would have this on their year-end list, at least in the top 5, top 3, or at least in the top 10. And this is definitely one of the art pop albums that has been released in 2020 that has blown up and just become a whole new sensation and has had a entire stand group for this artist. And I'm of course talking about Caroline Polachek's Desire I Want to Turn Into You. Yeah, I did not know about Caroline Polachek really prior to this release, and I got put onto it, and I am so happy I did. And even if I didn't get put onto it, I definitely would have been by the music media, because there's been so much coverage on Caroline Polachek, also with her single that is released after this album, and just her live performances throughout the world this year have just been, yeah, insane. And she's also had her own Tiny Desk concerts and everything, so she's really becoming a quite prominent figure, and for 2023 I would even say she's one of the most important ones. Yeah, this is just, I don't even know what to say about this album. I mean, it's just great. I'm just sold on everything that Caroline does. She's an authentic character, and it's been a while that in the art pop scene I have seen an artist that doesn't just copy what previous art pop artists has done. I feel like a lot in the art pop genre, they kind of try to go in a Kate Bush or in a Bjork or in a Fiona Apple direction or something like that. But Caroline Polachek does take inspiration from these artists, but I feel like in 20 years down the line from now, a lot of artists will be inspired by an album like Desire I Want to Turn Into You. Yeah, love this album. I love the entire world that Desire I Want to Turn into You creates. With, yeah, I don't have enough time to go into it, but yeah, so many great tracks. Welcome to My Island, Bunny's a Rider, Sunset, I Believe, Blood and Butter, Butterfly Net, gotta be one of my favorites, and Billions is such a great closing track as well. Yeah, almost, yeah, this album probably should have been my number one, but I really wanted it to be my number one. But there's 3 other albums that I enjoyed a little bit more, so yeah. At the number 3 spot, I got Anoni and the Johnsons with My Back Was a Bridge for You to Cross. This is a singer-songwriter soul album that really, when I heard it, I broke down. I was not ready for this album to have that huge impact on me as it did. And I really applaud that everything this album does. It is an album that both shows as a fighter for the LGBTQ area or LGBTQ movement, but also it serves a lot of personal issues that I feel like just hit me hard. There's so many songs on here where Anoni just is so real in her authenticity that I just cannot stop applauding her. I enjoyed every moment. It Must Change, Silver of Ice, and my absolute favorites gotta be Scapegoat and followed by It's My Fault. Those songs I remember just after Scapegoat and into It's My Fault, when I heard this for the first time, it was just, I don't know, it did something to my body that I was not ready for, but it just hit me right in the feels. This album kind of contemplates the psyche of why we are still here, and why we do what we do, and why we fight for what we fight for. But at the end, there might not be an answer. Something this album also does quite well is it works kind of in a traditional tone. It pays homage to a lot of soul music and singer-songwriter music, but it has a lot of its own power. It feels really modern in the way it is done, and that is something I quite enjoyed. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard for me to kind of explain why I like this project as much as I do. So if you're a fan of singer-songwriter music, I definitely, with folk music or soul music, check this album out, because yeah, it's definitely the one that made me cry the most this year. So that's why I got the number 3 spot. At the second spot, I got Wall Socket by Underscores. Underscores is an artist who actually mainly made hyperpop and is mainly known for hyperpop music. However, with Wall Socket, there is almost a genre that is not represented. There is mainly an indie-tronic electropop album. However, there is sprinkles of indie rock, country, rave music. Yeah, so many different things just splattered all over this thing, and it makes this quite a crazy experience. However, Underscores is able to create a unique, explosive universe that is consistent and is in the core, sticks to the core of what the album is. There's a lot of lore behind this album, and Wall Socket is kind of its own like world and universe, and we kind of, as a listener, view inside of this world, or look through a window into this world, and meet different characters and kind of portray, our livelihoods. I like so many tracks on here, and they're so creative. Cops and Robbers, the opening song, is basically a pop punk song. Then the next song, Locals, Girls Like Us, kind of uses these vocals, layers like vocals on top of each other, and creates like a dancey pop song that might as well have been written by Lady Gaga. Talking about Lady Gaga, there's also some Lady Gaga influence on a song called Old Money Bitch. It's also a quite fun pop song. However, all of a sudden this song just has an explosive point where it just gets ravey, dancey, and stuff like that. A song like Jeez Louise, which rounds up to about 7 minutes, is like a punk song where Underscores kind of goes crazy on the vocal performance, and Henhouse, the featured artist, also does a great performance. But then all of a sudden it goes more into a folky ballad in the midpoint, and then it reaches like a crescendo where it's just explosive and atmospheric, and such a creative album. And I didn't even talk about my favorite track yet, Johnny Johnny Johnny, which I definitely recommend hearing. It's quite a creative song. It's kind of silly and goofy, but when you look at what the song is about, you get quite disturbed. I could keep going on about this track list. You Don't Even Know Who I Am also interpolates vocal samples in a very unique way. The same does the song Duh, and the lyrical content on this record just showcases the youth from a lot of ugly sides, and I think that's why I like it, I guess, because I am the youth. And I haven't even mentioned the feature from Jane Remover on Kenny Long Arms, where she absolutely kills it as well. A song about getting older and not wanting to get older. I guess that's kind of how I've been feeling lately, and maybe that's why this album stuck with me on a lyrical basis. But from a production standpoint, this thing is just goofy and fun, and I have had almost every single song here as my favorite song of the year at one point. And here we have it, the number one spot, which, if by now you've not figured it out, it could be no other than JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown with Scaring the Hose. JPEG Mafia has got to be probably one of my favorite hip-hop producers at all, and Danny Brown was also featured previous on this list. I love Danny Brown's unique takes on vocal delivery, and both of these artists got they got a finger on a pulse like no other artist. They know what's relevant, they know how to milk it, and they did so with this, and it is just such an impressive track list. Kind of like the Underscores album, this is a goofy album. I mean, it's not like this album is an Anoni on the Johnsons that is trying to solve society's problems, but Scaring the Hose really is the most fun I've had, I think, with an album ever. The track list is astonishing. What JPEG Mafia is able to produce is nuts. He takes so many samples that is just so out of pocket. Scaring the Hose has like a clapping sound that just gets put into like a whole I don't even know how he does it. He creates just something so weird. Garbage Pail Kids has like a Japanese commercial. Fentanyl Tester has the song Milkshake that is dominant as fuck on that song, and that goes hard. God Loves You have this gospel sample, and yeah, I would definitely recommend if you care a lot about sampling in hip hop music to check out where all of these samples are from, because JPEG Mafia knows his shit, man. JPEG Mafia has got to be one of my favorites. Danny Brown, one of my favorites. This duo just was, yeah, they were destined to make an amazing album, and they did. And I expected no less. I knew when this came out that it was going to be my number one, and nothing has really taken over it. And I think it's going to be hard for 2024 to give me something that I enjoyed as much as I did Scaring the Host. And I know it's a meme and everything, and when I make a list like this and talk about music this way and everything I include, I am perfectly the person that is scaring the host. So yeah, I guess that's why I had to put it at number one. Well, yeah, that was my list. I recommend listening to all of these projects, but of course, I spent a year listening to all of these, so pick some that you might found interesting. Maybe I presented them in a good way, or maybe I didn't. But yeah, I definitely recommend a lot of these projects, and I hope that some of you cared. I've been wanting to kind of make a style video like this for a long time, but I never really knew how to. Also because my YouTube channel is just not for this type of content, so I've kind of switched it over, or I'm going to try to switch it over to make some content like this. So if you've watched this video all the way through, I am on my knees for you, because this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, but I haven't really quite had the courage to do it yet, but at least I'm doing it now. So yeah, I'm happy if you sat through the video or just skipped through just to see the spots. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what your favorite music projects of the year was. It could also just be songs or some albums you recommend that I should check out, because I still have a long list that I wanted to go through, and that's the thing with music. You can never listen to enough, and there will always be something out there that you're not able to hear. Your favorite song is just right around the corner waiting for you, and that's what keeps me going. And that's why I wanted to make a video like this, because maybe I could present something to somebody, and maybe I could start a conversation, start a channel doing something like this, but I don't know. Here the video was. Thank you for watching it. It's been Jens Cederdorf in the house, and peace.